And I'll just repeat all of that since I wasn't recording it. So let's start. Flat on your back, support behind your knees, a little support for your head, 2 sandbags. If you happen to have sandbags, we're going to have those over your shoulders. So they take, maybe a little bit, mine are kind of heavy. They take a little bit to get situated and placed, balanced in a balanced way over your 2 shoulders so you feel equal weight. So take a minute and just get that set up if you're using them. And if you're not, you're already 10 steps ahead. Okay, so we'll start in a prone position for your restorative today. Big restorative practice. Good. Right, so as much or as little of that sandbag you can get over the chest and the shoulder, and then the other part of it just kind of sits next to your head. That's where that starts. One situated, and then hoist the other one up here as best you can, and then you can monkey with them as much as you need to so that they feel like the weight is balanced. And then they even provide kind of a little bolster for the size of your head so that your head is supported. Somebody said yesterday, this feels like an old life jacket around your head, around the sides of your head, and then over the fronts of your shoulders. Let's take the first few minutes just to settle into this feeling. Dropping right down into the sensations of breathing, of being in your body, lying on the floor. And everything that speaks to you being present. And if you are using the weighted prop, if you are using the sandbags, you might just bring some attention to how or whether you notice the effect of having this weighted pressure on your body, how that might affect the feeling of your breath. On the exhale, right, especially might feel this as just like 2 hands pressing down on the fronts of your shoulders as you breathe out. Let that help you get perhaps of just a fuller, deeper sense of the exhalation. Good. So let's take another 3 or 4 breaths with the weight on your shoulders if you're using the weights. And then in just whatever way is easiest for you to remove the sandbags. And then just lie for a breath or two without the weight of the sandbags on your shoulders. Notice the change, notice the shift, feeling around your arms, chest, upper back. Change in any sensation of your breath on the exhale. And then from there, just go ahead and bring your feet up, your knees into your hands. Draw your knees toward your chest. Take your knees from side to side. Rock a little bit to the right on your low back. Right a little bit. Rock a little bit to the left and the right. Down closer toward your tailbone. All the way around the sacrum. One more breath here. Oh, good. And then let's take, if you've got a bolster behind your knees, take that out from behind you so it's out of your way. Come over onto your side. You might pause and take a breath on your side. And then from there, we'll come up and let's come straight up and over into the sideline over your bolster. So that gives you either the bottom arm that you rest your head on or a block that you can rest your head on. If you want your head more in line with your heart, so the spine more aligned and you're not getting the drop of your head and the side bend in your neck, a little less of the side bend, you can rest your head on a block. And then the same, just top arm comes over and rests overhead. Okay, so just go straight there. Like grab your bolster, grab your big couple of bed pillows or couch cushions or your few blankets rolled up to simulate a bolster, and then just bring one side of your ribs over. This top arm reaches up and rests. And today you might just take a minute and find what feels like the comfortable, where is the comfortable side of your rib cage? If you're a little bit forward, if you're a little bit more in the frontal part of the side rib cage, right? It's probably the most comfortable place to lie. You've got your top arm extended. you feel just a nice balance, sense of stretch up and down the side of the top facing rib cage. If you push just back a little bit more toward the back side of your rib cage, roll, in other words, roll a little bit backward. Maybe let your head fall if that's a comfortable thing for you to do. You might let your head fall so you're more looking back. Maybe not the most comfortable place to stay for the whole pose, but just so brings a little bit deeper opening through the front part of the rib cage. Drop your head back and then come back and then just find the comfortable for you lateral stretch and place where you can just stay and breathe deeply and comfortably. Find the position that's most restful. As you're breathing here and observing sensations in the breath and sensations in the body, notice the pause. Notice the pause at the end of exhalation. Pause of any length at all. A natural, still space between exhale and inhale. Two more breaths on this first side. Two more breaths. Good. And this is a good place to just passively mobilize your shoulder, this top shoulder. You're just taking your arm around the big circle, back stroking that top arm a few times. And then bring the arm forward and then reach it back. Take the opposite rotation of your arm. And then roll yourself a little bit forward on your bolster. So you could get both of your hands under you. Push yourself up off of your support. And then you might just pause if you can just feel your way to a comfortable seat. Pause here. Feel the shift in air pressure, blood pressure in your head, face, your sinuses. Feel the change or the differential in sensation just in the muscles of your rib cage before you go to the other side. Yeah, and then you just sort of sense everything return to a more stasis, kind of a more balanced feeling in your nervous system and your muscles. And then we'll go the other way. Bring yourself onto your other side. I'm going to go block for my head on this side, just because I don't need quite as much lengthening on this side as I do on what feels like my shorter, tighter left side. Make adjustments, practice. You don't have to practice in a super symmetrical way if you have anything that feels like it just needs a little extra, a little different attention. First couple of breaths, rolling a little bit forward, rolling a little bit back. Just feeling the weight of your arm drop, the weight of your head might drop back. You're not using the block. A little more intensity, a little more just space. And then find a comfortable, restful side of your spine, side of your rib cage. I just want to be here another 4 or 5 breaths. You might notice if you're lying on your left side, if your left rib cage is on the bolster, this sort of more prominent sensation of your heart beating behind your rib cage. So let's finish the breath we are in the middle of and take one more breath. Good. And then you can optionally here, once again, move your arm. Let the arm move through the whole apparatus of your shoulder. As much range of motion here that is sort of passively comfortable. Just let the weight of your arm float into just a nice, easy, loose backstroke and then forward stroke. Nice. Okay, and then take your time coming up, especially if your head was more down. Just let your palms push you up from the floor, and then take a seat again. Just find a comfortable seat, any comfortable seat. You can just take a breath. Pause just to notice the effects of the pose, the effects of the feeling of coming out of the pose. Lots of shifting and change of sensation. You put your body in and out of different postures, different ways that kind of reshape and kind of tune up the breathing apparatus, the shape of your rib cage and your spine, your abdomen, your diaphragm, the positionality of your lungs. Let's take an optional bolster, set the block aside. An optional bolster that you could use to support your foot, your knee, the leg that would be the top leg that's going to be maybe a little bit back behind you. In the Svastikasana, where we lie on the belly with one arm reaching away from the shoulder. And then we push the other hand to help turn us over onto that same side hip. And then if you want to take this top leg, work this top leg a little bit back behind you. The bolster could just optionally support the inner knee. So you have a rest for the knee and the knee doesn't feel restless or kind of torqued. Sometimes it feels like if the foot is drawing back and the knee is trying to drop to the floor, it's an awkward, it can be an awkward kind of twisting feeling in the knee. So the bolster can just be back here supporting this top behind you leg. Your free arm, you can just let rest on the floor here in front of you, or wind it into the space of your lower back, into your waist, to your back waist. And just come back to nice ease in your breath. So nice lengthy inhales and exhales and also pauses.
Let's give it one more breath on this side. And then when you're ready to come out, just let everything unwind. Unwind yourself out of the pose. Rest in any comfortable way, just on your belly, on your front side for one breath. Good. Okay, and then we'll just do whatever there is to do to switch sides. Whether that's bringing yourself up, if you need to flip yourself around, or just move your props around to the other side of you. Let's do that so we can go the other way. So there's the getting into the pose, there's the pose and the being in the pose. There's the short, brief transition out of the pose, and then there's a pause in between one pose and the next pose. In all of those moments with equal attention, equal quality to your attention. So yeah, let's all meet on the second side. We'll finish the breath that you are taking and take one more in the pose. Good. And then just slowly slip yourself out of pose, unwind, and once again, just take pause to take a breath, not in any pose. Reverse Shavasana, and give it a name. Okay, and then we'll ease your hands back up underneath your shoulders. Ease yourself up from the floor and let's take your strap, just like we did last week. So we might have a loop on your strap or just have one end of strap in each hand to bring it over your foot. Support for your head, maybe have some blanket support for your head if you don't want to be completely head flat completely. And then just start on whichever foot is convenient for you, wherever you have more space out to the side of your mat. So that it's time to go wide, you can go out wide and not run into obstacles. Okay, so you can put your foot right through the loop of the strap so that the loop sits right over the ball of the foot or over the heel. Ball of the foot helpful for when your calves are tight and you want more extension and work into the backs of your lower legs and your knees, right? So that you can really pull on the toes, get your heel out away from you, have a longer, more downward angle of your leg. And you can feel that just really pull right up through the Achilles tendon and the calf muscles. Okay, it's a lot of flexion in your ankle. So the top of your ankle might tend to get a little fatigued feeling after a while. So you can move the strap down so it's a little closer to your heel. And that way the top of your ankle can be a little more extended. And then you can still work this same movement of extending your hamstrings, right? So our pelvis is tilted away. There is this natural space of your lumbar spine. There's natural gap between lumbar spine and the floor. The curve is there. The curve is intact. And from holding the position of your pelvis like that, extending your free leg helps. You're just moving your bound leg, your strapped foot toward you, strapped leg toward you. Give that one more breath. We'll give one more breath to this leg extended straight upward. Good. And then holding on to the tail end of your strap or holding on to even to the loop of your strap. We're gonna go out to the side. Same side, rotating outward at the hip socket. Out and down toward the floor, push out through the opposite heel, the leg that's extended onto the floor, and maybe kind of tighten up through the backs of your hips. So if you kind of squeeze the glute muscles, squeeze the buttocks, a little more extension, a little more sensation, a little more lengthening, and then relax those muscles. Stay with the sensation of stretch for another 4 breaths. Good. You could just let go of the strap altogether. Let the leg fall, let the foot fall, let the knee bend, bring everything back to center. Let's extend that leg. Both legs long, both legs extended out and down on the floor. There's the pause. Again, you're noticing again that differential in sensation from one side to the other, feeling kind of the dissipation of sensation of the pose. Just stay close to anything that just keeps your awareness here, centered, present in your body. Then slip your strap onto your other foot if you need to switch things around. Do that. Just give one stretch into the strap looped around the ball of your foot. You go out long and just feel into your calves. Sometimes they're just little gremlins of tightness in the calves that we're not aware of. Give yourself a little calf stretch if you need to, if that's warranted for you. But then just come and slip the strap down a little closer to your heel, and then tilt of your pelvis. Posterior tilt of the pelvis, I believe. Three more breaths here, coming just closer, incrementally closer, maybe on the exhale. Take that as far as that feels comfortable for you. And then let's go out wide to the side, externally rotating at the hip. Keep extension in your unstrapped leg. Push out through that heel, and then push out through both heels. And give a little squeeze again into the buttocks, into the glutes.
a little squeeze, feel a little brighter extension. The inner thighs, front of the opposite leg hip, the leg that's down on the ground, and then relax those hip muscles, relax the backs of your hips. Take one more breath on this side. Good. So you can just let go of the strap, let your leg fall wherever your leg falls. Slip your foot out of the strap, extend both legs. Relax both feet, relax both legs. Okay. And so then if you are close to a wall or a piece of furniture, let's do pigeon pose again, as we did last week. Where if you want the support of your foot against the wall, so your foot, sole of your foot on the wall, your knee at somewhat of a right angle. Knee right over your hip joint, and then opposite ankle crosses over. And then you might just use that same side hand to press that knee away from your hip. Okay, if you know this is the optimal setup for you to get what you need out of pigeon pose, you have your foot up on the wall or against a piece of furniture that won't slide out from under you. Or you are on your back with both hands behind one thigh, pulling that thigh toward you, ankle crossed over your knee. Optimal if your knees give you any issues at all, if you have any issues in the knee joint itself, any old injuries or tears, or the knees are vulnerable or arthritic, or issues with the any dislocation of the kneecap, right? If it's just uncomfortable to do this variation, it's uncomfortable on this knee, front knee, then just be on your back. If this is okay and comfortable for you, come to all fours, one knee comes forward, your long back leg extends long behind you, and you're resting on your elbows. You rest your forehead in your hands, come down and rest your head on your hands with your elbows wide. I like that. And then sometimes I hear from a lot of people that sometimes this gives them a little bit of strain, or a little bit of sort of pinch sensation in the hip crease itself, in the hip joint. Okay, which might or might not be indicative of some wear and tear on the hip joint, or something, maybe some inflammation around the labrum, which is that cushion that sits around the lip of your hip socket. And if there's any deterioration there, sometimes there's pain, sometimes there's just discomfort right where the thigh bone, the head of the femur sits in your hip joint. So if this is not comfortable, or if too much of your weight in the fold like this produces that sensation, then you just want to be maybe up a little bit in your hands, or have your bolster here out in front of you where you have a little bit of height under your abdomen and your chest, and you can rest, or you can just bring your block under your forehead and let your forehead rest on a tall block.
So you have less pressure sitting right on top of that front hip joint. So wherever you are, let's take 5 more breaths on this first side. Good. And so in whatever variation you're working in, let's go ahead and switch. Switch sides, switch directions, move yourself around if you need to move yourself around. Let's go the other way. And so another breath or two on this side. And so when you're ready to come up, let's make your way out of the pose. So out of the pose, if you're at a wall, you might just let your feet come to stand on the floor in front of the wall and you're just on your back still. If you're on your mat on your back, just let your feet come to stand. And if you are facing the floor, pardon me, bring yourself onto your back, support your head, require, enjoy a little support behind your head, and then just take a breath again. Maybe extend your legs if you have room, if you're by the wall, just take a breath, just pause. Nice. Okay, and it's time then to just, we'll take really any support you would like to have for final relaxation or shavasana, corpse pose. So that can be a very minimal type of setup for you. Maybe just a bolster behind your knees and a blanket behind your head, or just the blanket behind your head, or nothing, maybe just a blanket under you. Whatever you like. This will be more or less like 7 minute, if we're counting from right now, 7 minutes in Shavasana. So set yourself up in any way that you know that you'll be able to be comfortably resting for that amount of time with the supports that you are using. And adjust lighting, of course, if there is anything about your room that you want to minimize bright light over your eyes, of course. So let's do that. You could go right back to sandbags over your shoulders even. Let's take 5 minutes. 5 minutes to rest completely. Feeling of balance and symmetry from one side to the other.
another couple of minutes in Shavasana where you have dropped all efforts. If you sense yourself at any point trying or applying effort to being relaxed, notice that. Just rest again. Good. So maybe another breath or two. And then from whatever position you are in, come to rest on your side. Shift your props, shift yourself onto one side. You take a breath there. Take a couple of breaths if you were all the way down to the ground with your head. And then from there, up to a seat. Close your practice here. Just very simply, very briefly, palms together in front of your heart. Honor your time here as always. And maybe make it an intention to, in the days ahead, notice not only the effects of your practice, but this quality of attention that you cultivate in your practice of just kind of paying attention and being, in a sense, just a more aware from moment to moment, bringing that into your other daily interactions in your life. Back to practice. When you come back to practice, namaste. Namaste. And thank you again for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Meet again. You're in the Zoom room until we meet again. Mr. Kitty Potts. What? Well, thank you all very much.